Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Raleigh Board of Selectmen meeting for March 24th, 2014. Remind everybody that this meeting is being digitally recorded, audio and both video. Call the meeting to order, and the first on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. And Brent Bazelak, our conservation agent, is in the audience. Brent, will you lead us on the pledge?
Certainly. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Thank you, Brent. Okay, chairman's comments. I have no chairman's comments tonight. Okay, starting at 7:05. Will be citizen query until 7:15. We have 3 appointments tonight. First appointment, 7:15, Conservation Brent Bazelak to discuss open space. At 7:30, we have a joint meeting with the Water Board of Commissioners to discuss the FY15 budget. Also, 7:45, we have an appointment with Raleigh Police Chief Barker to discuss the FY15 Police Department budget. 8 o'clock, we have a joint meeting with the Board of Cemetery Commissioners to discuss the FY14 revolving fund cap and the FY15 revolving fund. And so with that, let's go to general business. Okay. General business number 1, Town of Raleigh proclamation. Sign the Equal Pay for Women Proclamation. Do I have another? Okay. Town of Raleigh Proclamation, Equal Pay Proclamation 2014. Whereas 50 years after the passage of Equal Rights Act, Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, women, especially minority women, continue to suffer the consequences of unequal pay. And whereas, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, year-round full-time working women in 2010 earned 77% of the earnings of year-round full-time working men, indicating little change or progress in pay equity. And whereas, in 2009, the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act was signed into law, which amends Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. And now we must pass the Paycheck Fairness Act, which amends the Equal Pay Act by closing loopholes and improving the law's effectiveness. And whereas wage disparity persists across all educational levels and in all states, as women with college degree or higher lose $713,000 over a 40-year period versus $270,000 lost for women who did not finish high school. And whereas there were 68 million women in the workforce in 2008, a significant increase from the 18.4 million in 1950, and women were 46.8% of the labor force in 2010. And whereas over the working lifetime, this wage disparity cost the average American woman and her family an estimated $700,000 to $2 million in lost wages, impacting Social Security benefits and pensions. And whereas fair pay equity policies can be implemented simply and without undue cost or hardship in both public and private sectors. And whereas fair pay strengthens and security of families today and eases future retirement costs while enhancing the American economy. And whereas Tuesday, April 8th, symbolizes the time in the new year in which wages paid the American woman catch up with the wages paid to men from the previous year. Where now, therefore, I, Robert Snow, Chairman of the Raleigh Board of Selectmen for the Town of Raleigh, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, April the 8th, 2014, Equal Pay Day, and urge the citizens of Raleigh, Massachusetts to recognize the full value of women's skills and significant contributions to the labor force, and further encourage businesses to conduct and internal pay evaluation to ensure women are being paid fairly. Robert Snow, Chairman, Raleigh Board of Selectmen. Do I have a motion from the board?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Do I have any discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, we are now in citizen query for 2 minutes. So if anybody has any questions of the board, they can make it until 7:15. Okay, moving on to old business number 1, discuss March 18th, 2014 school funding presentation. Bob Snow, Joe Perry, and Bob Mary attended the school funding presentation by Senator Tarr and Roger Hatch of the Department of Education. They will brief the board on the highlights of the presentation. Attached is a copy of the DOE handout. So with that, I'll open this up to discussion from the board. Anybody have any comments? Joe, you're mainly our full-time person.
I'll comment on the meeting. I thought Roger Hatch of the Department of Education presented a lot of information. At a point, it did get to be a bit overwhelming as to how the state comes up with the formula. And there are parts of the formula that we feel that has to be addressed, that we don't feel it's equitable in treating, giving a lion's share of the money to the cities of Boston, Cambridge, Lawrence, Lowell, and leaving the regional districts like Triton and Pentucket and other districts with fewer dollars to in their school aid per student.
Thank you, Joe. Bob, do you have any comments?
Well, I was encouraged, both with Senator Tarr's presentation and Representative Hill's presentation. I think they both realized that there was an issue with some of the formulas that the state uses to calculate the funding for the school systems. And they seemed very interested in at least trying to do something at the state level, bringing it to the attention of their colleagues. So hopefully, we keep our fingers crossed that something does come down the line and they adjust it a little bit so that everybody gets the equal share.
I was very impressed with Senator Tarr and Representative Hill. Both they had a real handle on the formula, and they were able to add to Roger Hatch's presentation. And also Representative Lenny Miro, who
Yes, Lenny was there too.
Lenny
Yes.
was there,
Yep.
and he's new to the House, and he's trying his very best to come up to speed.
Right.
And as an elected official, I think he's only served, this is what, a year and a half or something
I
like
think
that.
something like that. You know, I
So-
was pleased to see him there because he is taking the time to try to find out what's actually going on, where he hasn't had this.
And that's the second time we bumped into Representative Mira.
Yes.
We bumped into him up in Newbury, and I have to give him credit. He's trying to catch up and to understand the situation. Again, you know, as I've said before about the situation with the state funding, because of the way it's set up and the way the assessment from Triton comes down, we go into this adversarial role every budget season with the schools, and that should not be. We should be sitting down and, you know, the
Working
school
together.
and working together
Yeah.
and going in one direction and understanding that not only do we have to fund the schools, we have to fund the town, and it has to be that equity, and we have to sit down and you know, iron these issues out way before we come to budget season. Unfortunately, the state, when it comes to their budget, is not doesn't come forward until sometime in July.
Right.
So that, you
Makes
know,
it very difficult.
it makes it very difficult. And I don't foresee, unless there's a complete change in the way this is done, that we don't enter into the same adversarial position as we've done in the past few years.
Well,
And
hopefully, Bob, at some point in time, and this year wasn't quite there yet, but hopefully in the very near future, we can all pull on the rope. Now, through the years, I've tried pushing on the rope, and I can tell you from experience, it does not work.
Doesn't work.
So if we can get together and all pull in the same direction and pull on the rope, I think we'll be okay.
yeah, and it's and again with the Triton budget is an assessment. It's you know, as I always say, it's very much like county government. The county government in the old days that we give you the bill and you
Here it is, pay it.
here it is, pay it. And that something has to change in the way the formula is put together, in the way this is all done, because we should not be arguing about the education of our children.
No.
And about the funding.
The education of our children is extremely important
Yeah.
for every community to do.
And
But likewise, as the Board of Selectmen, we have other
Yes.
obligations also. And we need to cover all of the obligations that we are in charge of.
and again, you're right, Bob, we shouldn't be arguing about the running of the town either,
No,
so.
no, not at all.
If I could offer one more comment, I'd like to encourage, personally encourage the Speaker of the House, Mr. DeLeo, to support the changes to the Chapter 70 funding so that we can get a more equitable treatment for the the smaller cities and towns, our cities. Pardon me.
Any discussion
Yeah, Mr.
with
Chairman.
the House leadership?
If you look at the back page of the
Yeah.
school budget package.
Yes.
I think it very clearly, and you probably can't, you're not gonna be able to see it from home on television, but it very clearly delineates what our problem is. In other words, if the solid black is Chapter 70, that's school aid. If you look back in 2001, 2002, 2003, and then in 2004 it dropped. And we are still not back in 2014, which is 10 years later, we are still not back to where it was in 2003 for Chapter 70 school aid from the state. Meanwhile, if you look at the top line, which is, the two top lines, which is required net spending and actual net spending, those issues have skyrocketed. Those amounts of money have skyrocketed, while the state is actually paying in less funding. So what that means is we, the local communities, have to make up that difference. And it's, you know, I don't anticipate, I know, reading newspapers that Amesbury and Newburyport are going through the exact same situation that we've been talking about. And they're not regional schools, those community schools. So, you know, the entire system is just completely out of whack. And I think this graph shows it dramatically what the problem is. And you know, as much as the State House politicians talk about it, I know this year, I think they said there was an increase of 5% in state revenues from the increasingly better economy, yet they threw a pittance to Chapter 70, and they threw I think less than a pittance to local aid. So we're forced to make up that, and until that basic thing changes, we're not gonna. It's not gonna get any better. So.
No.
But people should maybe take a look at this chart and put this out for publication.
You know, after the meeting.
Maybe put it on the website for the town. Let people see exactly. You know, it's not us. It's, you know, we're trying to do the best we can, and the school committee and the schools are too. But we're just both behind the 8 ball, and I mean, how we get out from under it, the way things are going at this point, I don't know. I don't have an answer. That's for sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. I was looking at after the meeting, we walked out after the meeting last week of the presentation. I was thinking, I think there was somebody who got up in the audience and spoke about the same thing, about this chart. And I was wondering if the decrease in student population equates into this, that level
Yeah, there's all
with that
kind.
drop
The
off.
problem with it, and Joe kind of mentioned it, is
Yeah.
when you try to analyze the formula that the state has. I mean, there's student population, there's town population, there's property values, there's income data. I mean, there's so many things that go into it that, other than the computer that they feed all the information into and spits out something at the end. It's why you sit with pins and needles and wait for the state to tell you what you're getting. But really the bottom line is, you know, if we are at the, if you go back to the 2003 level, which looks like it's about, say, $8 million in school aid. I mean, we're down to $6 million or something now. I mean, if that 8 million had increased over the years the way everything else has, you know, we'd be up to 12 or 13 million dollars or something, and we'd be able to fund the schools and handle that. But instead, it's gone the other way. So, while the state's expecting us to do more, and you know, like I said, the formulas, and we all realize how complicated the formula is, and they expect us to do more, but they give us less, and we're hampered by, you know, if we could go out and raise taxes 10%, that'd be wonderful, but we're not able to do that.
No.
Not that we want to do that anyway, but you know, we're hampered. We're running around with handcuffs on, and you know, they're just kind of throwing us a pittance when they, depending on what the political wind is. So it's just very, very frustrating, and I expect we'll go through the same process again next year. I think we just have to meet with the schools a little bit earlier, make them listen to us earlier, so we're not waiting till the last minute for them to come and say, oh, this is what you're going to owe us. At least we can work together at an earlier date in the budget process.
Would anybody entertain the idea of sending a letter to Representative DeVillio, House Speaker, and urge him to,
I'd make that motion.
I am finished.
I'd like to send a letter to the House Speaker to urge him to revise the Chapter 70 formula.
Thank you, Joe.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. It's seven, citizen query is now over. And we're a little bit behind here, so it's about 7:19. And our first appointment, 7:15. I apologize for being a little long-winded there. But Brent Bazelak to discuss the open space plan and update the FEMA flood plan maps. And with that, Brent,
Good evening, Chairman Snow and members of the board. Of course, as always, I'm Brent Bazelak, your conservation agent, and my time is your time, so don't worry about any delays in addressing the subject. Are there any questions that I can specifically address for the board, or would you just like a general overall status report on where we stand in regards to updating the 2003 to 2008 open space and recreation plan for the town?
anything,
Update. He needs to give an update.
an update?
Okay, in that regards, thank you to the Board of Selectmen for making an interim appointment of the sitting conservation commissioners and allowing them to take over responsibility and functioning and deliberative process for the Open Space Committee. They will be convening a meeting tomorrow. So where we stand is an open space recreation plan consists of 11 sections. Of those 11 sections, there's 9 of them that are substantive. One section specifically consists of public comments that are, or that have been gathered from a survey of the citizenry in regards to helping to formulate what it appears the ideas of the citizens are in regards to the direction of open space and recreation planning for the community. And of course, that survey helps guide then the formulation of an action plan and goals. At this point in time, the previously sitting Open Space Committee had related that they had undertaken revisions of 5 of the sections which the guidance from the state says in an update need to be substantially revised. Another section appears to be missing, and that is the 5-year action plan, which was supposed to be developed as a result of both the survey and the committee's deliberations. And right now, we are awaiting, I did receive a phone call today from the previous chairman who believes he is in possession of the public survey forms, which were put out to the community and gathered and tabulated. Unfortunately, we're just not in possession of those unless something has been turned into the Board of Selectmen's office here between 3 p.m. and 7 tonight. I guess not. So that is in process. In regards to the Conservation Department office efforts at this point in time, we've completed editing and revisions of the first 2 sections, plan summary and introduction. Then embarked on what we thought would be editing and proofing of Section 5, Inventory of Conservation Lands and Recreation Interests, and found out that the depiction of conserved properties and the acreages, etc., in other words, the inventory, we found that the inventory was suspect and in need of revision and rewriting. That is taking place right now. I'm hoping to be able to present something to the Conservation Commission Open Space Committee meeting tomorrow night, but it's in the works, so I'm not going to delude you and say that I've got a draft to put in front of them right now, but it's substantially underway. The other portion, as any good plan, it has various maps included in it, and just to let the board know, my goal this past weekend, which I was able to communicate this, is for assistance from the Merrimack Valley Planning Commission, who had undertaken revisions of the maps for the various sections involved, but had not quite finalized or completed them. So this request went in this morning, as well as with an attachment, which basically isn't a substantive change of the plans, but is more formatting and changing, cropping it so that it can be appropriately printed to get the maximum ability of it to communicate both inventory of lands as well as current usage and soils information, topography information, patterns of land development, etc. So that I received confirmation that MVPC received that this morning, and I expect to hear from them in the next day or two in regards to what type of specific request for their hour project allotment.
How many hours do you figure for?
I'm sorry?
How many hours do you?
Oh, I have no idea.
LTA?
That's why I'm asking them, because I don't know how they.
Well, we haven't had any LTAs that I can remember in the past few months, so it's quite a few hours that you can use.
Yeah. Well, again,
Okay.
it's a
Let me know.
not quite exactly like a tennis match here, but
Sure.
I have no idea how to calculate their hours, so that's why I tried to give them a good detailed description of what I felt needed to be done to the maps that they created, and going to rely upon them to get back to me and say, okay,
Well, as the
7 maps, it's going to take us this amount of time to do what you want to do.
Right, they're the pros, they should give you the proper estimate.
As the representative from the Merrimack Valley Planning Commission for Raleigh, you let me know what you need, Brian, and we'll see to it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate that support. In regards to, since I found that the creation of the 5-year action plan had not been done, as well as what may be some substantive work on some of the other sections, through a reference from Essex County Greenbelt, I contacted consultant Nellie Aikenhead, who has experience and in the past has a long work history with the Trust for Public Lands and some other environmental organizations in regards to preparing open space plans or whatever. I was hoping to have heard from her today to possibly have an idea of a quote for engaging her services in the assistance of completing the substantive work that needs to be done. I'm afraid I haven't heard from her quite yet, so that is the next step. And that's probably a good segue into going into what may be, again, not knowing what the services of Ms. Aikenhead may possibly require for funding. I did identify that, and I apologize, I have not had this discussion with the Conservation Commission / Open Space Committee, so this is a little preemptive, and I apologize for that. But have identified the Conservation Commission has a conservation fund, and this is a copy of the 1974 town meeting article.
Thanks, Mike.
And specifically direct your attention to Article 6, and then the following Article 2, which followed it. Article 6, Conservation Fund, on a motion of Hayden Sean and seconded by Harold Good Jr., that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000.00 and transfer the same to the Conservation Fund. On a hand vote, the motion was so voted, 225 yes, 38 no. Article 2, instructions to town officers. On a motion by John Fenders and seconded by Jack Cook, that the Conservation Commission be instructed to follow recommendations of the Finance Board before expending the $10,000.00. And so I believe, in regards to the current balance that is in that fund, which slightly exceeds $10,000, I believe that this is all tracing the history back through other articles that appropriated funds and then had those funds dispersed. We came back to this 1974 article that appears to account for the current balance that is in that account, which has earned a little bit of interest, which is why the balance is above $10,000.
Yeah, that conservation fund article was presented so that they could set money aside to purchase land. And basically, I think it was set up when they were looking at the land at the landing. There's a fellow by the name of Gene Cheddar who owned that property where the parking lot is.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and so there was no CPC funds at those days, obviously. So they decided to put some money aside in case things like that came along.
Okay.
So they were appropriating about $10,000 a year to put in that fund. And this is one of those years that they put $10,000 in, and obviously it never got spent because it's still there. So, and it's interesting that it's a instruction to town offices article under Article 2 that requires the Finance Committee approval. That is not a mandate.
Well, it actually says
That's a-
recommendation.
Right. Well, even the Article 2 is a recommendation
Right.
itself. It's not a mandated article. So you give instructions to town officers, it's asking them to do something, not demanding that they do something.
Right.
So that can just have, so Larry knows what his stance would be. It would be nice if the Finance Committee would recommend it, but it's not necessary.
No, but it is good practice,
Oh,
and it
absolutely.
encourages due diligence
Yes.
and proper documentation, or at least justification for the request for a recommendation on an expenditure.
I agree wholeheartedly, Brent. That's exactly right. Yeah.
But I do need to discuss this with the Conservation Commission. We have just recently utilized these funds for recordation and title search on property that was gifted to the town and the Conservation Commission. And so I have to address the Conservation Commission Open Space Committee to see if the possible utilization for completion of the open space and recreation plan would be something that they would encourage.
Okay.
If
Mr.
we-
Chairman, just to follow up on what Mr. Bizak is saying, there's an inordinate amount of work that needs to be done to complete this open space plan update so it can be filed with the state in anticipation of then filing applications for possible land grants, if there's a future acquisition in mind. He has so much work that he has to do in that office, and especially right now when that spring is upon us. What we would like to be able to do is to hire a consultant to help him complete the plan. Obviously, there are much, larger cavities in this whole, set of documents we received than we initially thought. We just thought he was going to be updating it, freshening up the data. But there are records now that weren't transferred over to the town by these former town officials. So it would be nice if the Board of Selectmen could take some type of position on the Conservation Commission access of this account to hire a consultant to help with the preparation of this plan. And I would like the board to strongly consider that, if not tonight's meeting, maybe next week's meeting, or if you do it tonight, that can be conveyed to the Concom tomorrow night. And then if there's another meeting with the FinCom, at next week, to bring that forward, that would be great. But I think the selectmen, because you've requested the open space work to be done now through the Concom and its agent, I strongly would suggest that there be some type of endorsement.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
there's a motion in order. I will make that motion. That we actually, if we can hire this lady that Brent has already contacted, she came to us highly recommended, to step in and help him put that together. I think it would be a big help for Brent, it would be a big help for the town.
And make a little footnote too.
Sure.
Yeah.
In order that resources are appropriately utilized, there is another category of service that I would make a request, not only the services of a consultant, but then the services of someone who is very proficient in Microsoft Word to actually freshen up and appropriately format and prepare the documentation.
Okay.
I will freely admit, I've used Microsoft Word for many, many years, but I have never used it to create an open space plan, and I am not proficient enough
Sure.
to not be sometimes daunted and challenged by its desire to automatically format things that I don't want formatted.
I would be happy, Mr. Chairman, to second the motion if have your motion include both the hiring of a consultant and basically whatever it takes. to
Possible
get-
administrative
or whatever
assistance for the
Exactly. No, I
to
think
doc-
get this
electronic
thing
file
expanded.
preparation.
for the
I'll-
whole
I'll-
document.
Absolutely.
I'll second that motion.
Have a
And
second?
Brent, we've all had that issue with Word, Windows. I mean,
Yes.
you go to move a line and it puts it somewhere else in the document, it's very frustrating, and I can understand your problem. I really can.
Plus,
I
I
have
would
the
like-
same problem.
I would like to say too, that we threw a huge burden upon you and the Conservation Commission in coming up with a plan that we thought was in pretty good shape, and obviously it's much
Needs some
poorer
work.
condition than what we anticipated. So to saddle you alone with this and you to also handle all your own regular work is an impossible task. So I think
Right.
whatever
Right.
assistance we can give you and recommend to your board that, we hire these people, because my other question is, are you optimistic that we're gonna be able to get this completed in time for a June date for submission to the state?
There's some other factors that are outside of my, some external factors that are outside of my control, barring fair tailwinds and the performance of those particular individuals. Yes, I would hope to see this
Brian,
put together before town meeting.
Anything you need, we want to give it to you.
anything you need, to come to the board and ask for it, okay? I mean, if there's one person in town, you always have everything for us, and always everything prepared. And I have a question, I've called you, out of the blue, you've had the answer for me, So, I have a second, and all those in favor?
Aye. You have
Again.
our support.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anything you need, Brent, you come to the board and we'll
This is,
back you up.
this is really pretty important to
Yes,
the
it is.
town. I mean, we're looking at some very serious funding here that we could be eligible for, but it's only eligible if we have this report done and get it filed on time. So, I mean, it's very important, believe me.
You need any additional help whatsoever, just come to the board. Okay. All right. Anything else, Brent?
Yes, and the other topic in regards to amending floodplain district bylaw, public hearing was held before the planning board, and the planning board voted this is the final submitted
Thank you.
proposed article to amend the floodplain district bylaw with the incorporation of the quote-unquote newly revised maps, which constitute only a portion. There's other maps that were previously revised in 2012, mostly of the inland areas, which will remain. The public hearing was held. It didn't receive any particular inquiries from the public in regards to the new maps. The new maps in panels arrived, I think it was March 23rd. They are available in the Conservation Department office for inspection. I believe they are also, since they've been sent out, I believe they're also available through FEMA's website. I'm, at this point in time, would recommend not immediately posting them to the town website. We possibly may wish to wait till just before town meeting when they actually get voted. But the Conservation Commission, under the regulations for the Wetlands Protection Act, is able to take into account the new mapping as the best available data in regards to looking at floodplain activities or whatever, so.
Okay. Any questions from the board? No. Anything else, Brent?
I don't believe so.
That's, Brent, thank you very much for your hard work tonight and for all the preparation you did for this. I know your work, you're very diligent in your work, and we greatly appreciate you, especially this board, all the work you do for the town. It's always a pleasure to have you in here before us. Any other comments from the board? Brent?
May I be of further service to the Board of Selectmen this evening?
I don't know if we'd have anything else that,
Well, we do have an item later on in the agenda, but I can brief Mr. Bazelak on that tomorrow. That's
Okay.
on the,
we don't want to keep
he,
you.
of course, has been assisting us with the Girl Scout land, so
Okay.
I'll update him tomorrow on that.
All right, sound good, Brent?
Okay, thank you.
All
very
right,
much.
thank you so much for tonight, Brent. All right. Brent, thank you.
Thank you, Brent.
Thanks. Good job.
Thanks, Brent.
Thank you, Brian.
Special thanks to Selectman Bob Mary for his assistance. You'll see some very nice historic photographs utilized in the presentation of the report, thanks to his assistance.
Bob's always known to pull out a photograph or
He's
two.
definitely a historian at this point in time. No doubt
Brent,
about
thank you
that.
again. Okay, we're a little bit behind, it's 7:40, a little bit behind time. We have a joint meeting, Water Board Commissioners, to discuss the draft of the FY15 Water Department budget, the water treatment plant update, discuss and sign the town meeting transfer article. Can the Board of Water Commissioners come forward, those three seats? Mark, just gotta open the door. Yeah, I gotta leave it open. Still, we reserve that center one for you. Okay. Gentlemen, thank you for being here tonight. Call for meeting, the Water Board of Commissioners. Can I have a motion to go into a joint meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Have a second? A second, with a roll call vote.
Jack Cook. Aye, Joe Perry.
I, Robert Snow.
I, Robert Murray.
Hi, Dave Peterson.
I, Stu Delzell.
Aye, Tim Tilly.
Gentlemen, thank you. With that, turn this over, Chairman Toomey, to discuss the Water Department budget.
Well, as you know, we're, recovering from a lot of changes in the department. And so we're getting our arms around the budget in this budget season. Our superintendent, acting superintendent, Mark has, met with the committee that, was helping us with the finances. I think that we're in the right direction, Mr. Chairman. I think that we're, getting on the same page. I think that, we've been having some discrepancies in the categories. I noticed that we're kind of needed some clarification, but we're working on clarifying some of the categories on the, especially the expense line. And we just received at this, this afternoon, the most up-to-date year-to-date expenses, so we can compare that to our budget from last year. One of the issues we're running into is that some of these budgets were hardly ever used, and we're looking into maybe some explanation of that. So the best we can do at this point is we're doing a work in progress. We hope to have this thing finalized hopefully this week, as far as, taking some fine-tuning and adjustments with things. Tonight, we've given the boards a draft budget, so they can, maybe have some questions looking at some of the numbers. Some of the things that we're looking into specifically are the power consumption of our new plant coming on board. The estimated cost, based on the engineer, is about $240,000 for that particular operation in itself. So that's something that's going to be, increasing our budget.
That's the electrical power consumption
Yes,
of the water treatment plant. I guess this is a question for Mark, Superintendent. How many pumps are within that building?
Well, there's various size pumps that do different things. There's going to be 20 or 30 pumps.
20 or 30 pumps?
Some of them pump just from tank to tank, but the ones that consume the most electricity are the ones that, there's two kinds. The ones that pump from the top of the hill, which is what we usually do. But the process that we have is under high pressure to put the water treatment through the membranes that we use. It takes high pressure. So it's almost like pumping it up to the top of the hill again. So it takes a lot of energy to run the process. And again, there are many, you should come take a tour, actually.
Yes, I need to.
But there are many transfer pumps. 2, 4, 6, 8. In one room, I can count 10 in my head.
Okay.
And those are relatively small. Well, it would be big for a household, but for a treatment plant, they're small. And of course, we have 3 of the variable speed drive, very powerful pumps that will pump it up to the storage tank. So I would say 20. I was pretty close. We got maybe 30 pumps down there. 30.
Just this for the water commissioners. When did it come to your attention about the power consumption, that it would be about $240,000? I know, Stu, you came on last year.
We looked into and tried to guesstimate the operational expense of running that plant. We talked, we talked as a group to, the staff talked as a group to Weston and Sampson to try to come up with a partial budget to operate that plant before the next fiscal year. So there was some effort to come up with that. I don't know if electricity was part of the equation. I'm not sure. I can't remember that one.
How long ago was?
We never
Slab the
we
same
never had
time
a
last
big
year.
number like this.
No, I'm just kind of curious because there was, under the old board back a couple of years ago, there was it came before, it was out there circulating about having solar panels placed. And I'm just think was there some kind of correlation behind that? Did somebody know about this?
We talked with Bruce Towers.
That was going to be talked to.
That was back when we had groundbreaking, but nothing's ever happened since then. He was going to do stuff, but I haven't heard anything.
There was a circumvention of the Board of Selectmen on that.
I don't know if any of us know the facts on it, Bob. I think that
Okay.
there was some talk that somebody had got the thought from the commissioner of the DEP, so I'm not sure.
Mr. Chairman, a question.
Sure.
Have we got, I just briefly looked through the document here, and obviously nothing's finalized yet, and I understand poor Mark is thrown in the middle of this thing, trying to put together a budget, and I know a year ago at this time, the whole cost of running the plant was really kind of a muddled topic, both in terms of energy costs and what I want to get to later is manpower costs. We were kind of told that the people on duty could run this, and a little extra time here and there, and the thing would run itself, and we'd be all set. And I'm just concerned that with Weston and Sampson, who's the town hired to design this whole thing, have they given us? Did we ever get? I mean, I've never seen one, but I've only been here since last May. Have we ever gotten a comprehensive plan that shows, what the anticipated cost, just to run the plant now? I'm not talking about the rest of your budget, but to run the plant, both in terms of costs for such things as electricity is one, probably heating is, I don't know how you're heating up there in the wintertime. But as well as manpower. In other words, when we get to looking at help, I haven't seen and I'm just curious why we don't have one. Why Weston and Sampson, who's got I assume a lot of experience in this, to put us together a couple of pages or 5. I don't know how many pages it would be to really, but something in a simpler form, so that when we go to town meeting, and it's time to talk about this treatment plant, that we can stand up there and say, okay, it's gonna take X amount of money, X amount of manpower, and we don't have it now, and this is what I think what I'm getting at, and I haven't seen anything.
I've been on the board for 5 years. I've been trying to find about the manpower pit, and I haven't got anything for an answer yet.
Yeah, I mean,
Do we need somebody up there 40 hours, or we need somebody up there 80
well, I
hours?
would like to see us put, almost an organizational chart together. I mean, we met with John, when I was a member of the Personnel Board, we met with John Reza back a couple of years back in terms of hiring personnel, at the time the business manager and things like that, we never really got a satisfactory explanation as to, we asked for something of where the department was going and what you were going to be needing. And even last year at town meeting, I don't think any of us really had a good handle on what the manpower needs were going to be. And in addition, you obviously, if you're going to run this kind of equipment, there's a lot of power needs. But I'm a little disappointed that, and maybe it's in the data and we just haven't seen it, that Weston and Sampson hasn't given us some more information. Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Just to fill in on a couple of comments. They've had a lot of help from the other departments on doing this, and the delay in part is just me coming up to speed.
Sure.
The Weston and Sampson proposal, way back in the beginning, they put all this together in terms of at least energy costs and so on and so forth. That's where we're getting our information now. What was missing is someone to go digest it and refresh everybody's memory in simpler form. I presumed up until 3 weeks ago this was an automated plant, less than one shift, let it run, just like our wells do the treatment now. And it was only when we started reviewing the chemical needs and so on and so forth that we found out that it might require someone to be there whenever the plant is running, which is determined by DEP, by the way, and to match the wells capacity. If the wells are running 100% capacity all day long, the treatment plant needs to run 11 hours each day. So it was only when we went back to this package, which we were not familiar with until we started looking into it, that we found out these details. We asked Weston and Sampson, they knew the answer and referred us back to this, and this is where we're coming up with the data, the initial data anyway, for energy costs, chemical costs, so on and so forth.
Okay, well, I mean, this shocks me in a way because, like you were up until a couple of weeks back, I think we were under the impression that this was a kind of a run it yourself with, if there was an issue that the computer would send an alarm and let us know there's a problem and we send a man. I don't think anybody on this board anyway, and correct me if I'm wrong, had any indication that we would have to have someone up there. One, maybe two people for the entire time that the plant is operating. This is certainly something that when we were in the planning stages or the initial stages, that, I mean, we got to put the plan in, but I mean, I think we're getting hit now with a lot of costs and a lot of issues that, at 2 weeks before the budgets need to be in, that, I hate to put it in a panic mode, but we got a tough situation here because we got to come up with facts and figures and numbers
When we toured
to be published in the town report, or in the warrant for the town meeting, and I get the impression that none of us really have much of an idea of where we are or where we're going. I mean, I'd like to see. I think there was something in the data that come out that about hiring another part-time employee or something. But it sounds to me like if you're going to run the treatment plant and the distribution system, you're going to need a heck of a lot more than one part-time employee. And a part-time employee is going to have what kind of credentials to do what? I mean, we need. Sounds like I'm assuming to do this, and what I read today, we need licensed people. You can't just stick anybody up there to watch the computer. We need people with licenses and so on and so forth. Okay, go ahead.
Right.
We toured Gardner out there. I mean, it was all brought up to us. I mean, I went out with John and Scott, myself. Everything was done on a computer, and the guy could do it from his house. And now all of a sudden it's not showing any of that. I mean, if something happened during the night, the guy could do something on the computer and do everything.
Something's wrong here. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm just totally confused.
Well, I specifically asked the DEP, what we would need with the new plant going. And their comment was, well, you need one primary operator with a T2 and a D2 license, and you need one secondary operator with a T2 and a D2 license. I'm not even sure if he needed the T2. He could have gone with the T1, sure.
Yeah, T meaning treatment, D meaning distribution.
Okay, so the licensed requirements to do that were, based on that conversation with two people. Now, did we know that they were thinking that maybe this thing should be running 11 or 12 hours a day? No. We all thought that it was going to be running a normal shift, and so therefore the guys running our department or running our water system could handle taking care of that and the other needs of the department, which is distribution and treatment for well 2 and for the treatment plant. So what we're looking at right now is we're checking into that to see. We're getting information now saying that it's going to be a needed shift of 11 hours. We're not so convinced of that, so we're looking into that right now. So, we're not, just gonna, accept that, because, we're kind of as upset as you are.
I mean, let me ask you this, Tim. You're gonna have in other words, I think are we at the conclusion that we're at least going to have one of your people, one of your current employees at that plant anytime it's running? Is that an assumption? So now what do you got, 3 employees?
Right.
So let's say a pipe bursts out here in front of Town Hall. That means you can't take that guy away, or the person away from the plant to come down and help with the pipe. You're talking about,
Well,
I mean,
I see what
you
your
see what
point
I'm
is.
saying here? In other
Yeah, I see
words,
what your point
I'm
is,
trying
but I
to
think that
put
these-
together what the
this-
plant is doing versus what we need to do just to maintain the distribution system, and they're not equaling out here.
Well, there's so much automation with the SCADA system that these things are all monitored and adjusted, but so they have to have somebody get the alarm, so to speak, if something goes amok with the monitoring devices that are running this plant. And so in that case, it's like responding to a break in the water system. Somebody would have to address why that pump isn't putting out the proper pressure or whatever. And then it's going to be a lot of, it's going to be a dynamic operation, more dynamic than it was this year, okay? So so I think that these people can handle the need by putting one person down there, and also being able to leave that location and maybe do some other tasks and go back to that, maybe just operate out of that plant.
I think we
We're
need
talking-
to know that.
Yeah, I know, and we're just getting that information as we speak right now, so we're a little bit behind, but, we hopefully we'll catch up, in the next week. I think there's specific questions that we're gonna look into right now. One is the power, one is the manpower needs to run that plant, and we wanna know it before, the next meeting.
Can I ask
Just-
the town administrator a question? What's the drop dead date that we have to have a budget, all the budget, not just water, but all the budgets ready for the printer so that they can be presented in the warrant?
The selectmen, I tentatively have them signing off on the warrant on either the morning of the 9th or the 10th of April. That means next Monday, you're gonna be looking actually, hopefully at a draft of the warrant, approving or not approving the final version of the water budget. It goes to the FinCom for their April 1st meeting. And that's about it, because the cleanup meeting, there'll be a cleanup selectmen and FinCom meeting, the 7th and the 8th of April. That's it. Then we're all done at this point.
It sounds to me like
No more time.
we're in a deep hole here, and we're not going to get much of anything done tonight. I mean, there's not a lot of information available. I'm almost willing to suggest, and I know how the board feels, that we might need to have a special meeting on Saturday morning, give the water board the rest of the week to get as much information as they can, because we're talking about a sit down for I'm going to guess 2 or 3 hours if we're going to. There's some major changes to this budget and some major funding considerations that, to sit here for half an hour and come up with answers is, we're wasting all of our time because we're not going to be able to do it.
Well,
I'd rather see us go our separate ways tonight and come back, whatever time it is before next Monday, and meet in a joint working session, and come up with facts and figures so that next Monday night we come in here, hopefully we'll have. And I'm not sure we can even do it. I'm not optimistic at this point that you're going to be able to get all the information you need. I am really disappointed that, we haven't had more from Weston and Sampson to let us know what. I mean, we're ready to open this plant in another couple of months at the most, and we got no idea how we're going to man it, or how we're going to pay the overtime, or any of these things. I mean, it's just. And I hate to put Mark in the middle. He's the guy that just came in here trying to help us out, and he's trying to put all this stuff together.
I have the same concerns, Dave. And I go back to when we went up to Penachek and we toured Pennachuck, and they have a SCADA system. So I'm a novice to water, okay, going in there, and the SCADA system would give an alarm, and then that technician would able to be dispatched out to that particular water treatment plant, okay, similar to ours. This is the way I understood it. And then they would address that situation at the plant. So now we're talking about funding of, we don't even know how many people. And again, Dave, you're correct. I'm scratching my head. I'm trying to put as much information out there as possible because I'm about to turn this over to Mark, and Mark to help.
Yeah, I think Mark can explain, he was working on the budget in my absence. The one thing I might add is that he's added money, and overtime money, to be able to accommodate what they're saying they think we need, so we can cover that aspect of the budget, but I'll let Mark.
And I have to go back to when, I remember when this plant all came in. This is gonna be state-of-the-art, it's gonna run itself. We were sold a bill of goods upstairs here, and now we got a lot of questions. And
Well,
I don't mean to put you in the spot, Mark.
Let me just say one more thing, Bob.
Sure.
This isn't like an operator in there pulling levers and doing this and tweaking this valve. It's pretty much an automated operation. And the only time you would get into a jam would be when something doesn't put out the proper pressure or whatever. So there's going to be adjustments made during the week, maybe. Maybe they'll run perfectly with all that.
I was under the understanding that you didn't have to be there. To be on premise,
Yeah.
that all the information from the SCADA system would go to somebody's laptop or their iPad, and they would be able to get an alarm, and then you go down there.
Well, they sort of up the goddamn Bob. If something happened during the night, the guy could shut a valve off, sitting in his house. He get a phone call and get on his computer, and he shut off this and turned on that. And that's the way it was shown to us when we went up to Gardner for the demonstration.
And I think, this is where I think Dave is too, and I'm a little about the funding to man this plant. And I think that's got us all on edge here, especially when we're coming
It
down
showed
to
the guy could wake up and push a couple of buttons, and it was all right until 8 o'clock in the morning when he went to work.
Now, the plant is designed to operate for, under my impression, operate for 8 hours a day during the shift. And then it would shut down. We'd have enough capacity to carry us through the night. It's not like this plant's going to be running around the clock. It's not.
Well, now that we've got all the commissioners on edge and the selectmen on edge, we're going to turn over to you, Mark, okay, to explain this to us.
Mr. Chairman, can we just have some clarification? We just heard, we thought it was 10 to 12 hours a day, but now Mr.
I can
Toomey's saying
explain.
8
Yes,
hours.
that's-
And Karen has a question.
Karen?
Actually, two questions. Is this a permanent thing, or is this just for some initial period as directed by DEP? Because that's kind of ringing a bell in my head that we needed to have people there in the beginning. So I think that's something that needs to be clarified. And my other question is, with regard to these electricity costs, has anybody sat down with the Rowley Light Department and had a conversation with them as kind of a reality check and said, this is the kind of power we're going to need? Are we looking at the right numbers?
Thank you, Karen.
My
Mark?
response includes your answers.
Okay.
I'll add the electric one. First of all, the budget will be ready. Today and yesterday is the first time that I felt confident that we can finish on time. But it has been a challenge. A lot of ramping up, a lot of changing, and I'm a new guy, so it took a little while. The multiple things we talked about, let's talk about the automation part first. And let's go back to your example of Gardner. That can and will happen in Rowley, but they didn't get there overnight. They probably were required to have one or two people on whenever it was running at the beginning as well. In fact, I worked there at the beginning.
Okay.
And they had something other than the Paul system, which wasn't working. They eventually threw that out and brought in the Paul system.
Which is the membrane that we've talked about, correct?
Which is the membrane, correct?
Membrane.
The Paul, PALL membrane system.
Just for clarification with the people at home, so when they hear the Paul, they're not,
Yeah, that's not Paul's system, but the Paul membrane system.
thank you.
So it is automated. I think the requirement to have it manned all the time may go away after the system has proved itself. In terms of having 3 people full-time and operating that, the way we've got it, been having discussions, ongoing discussions. The way we would manage that right now is there's an office at the treatment plant, and we would make that the primary operators. His job with monthly reports and so on and so forth has a considerable amount of office work that he has to do anyway. So rather than sit at 401 Central Street, he can sit at the treatment plant, be running and respond, and it's manned, it's fine. So that first 40 hours is almost taken care of. When and not if, when he needs to go out into the field, one of 2 things has to happen. Either someone needs to take his place or they need to shut the plant down. Fortunately, because of the way it's set up, you can turn that plant on and off relatively easy. It's not like other kinds of plants where it's difficult to do. You can do that. And then I'll end with, I won't end, but about the 100% that Commissioner Toomey was talking about is, I said when the wells are running at 100% capacity, it's matched by 11 hours of, theoretically, 11 hours of treatment per day. But we don't run the wells 100% all the time. So it may come down to where we can get everything done in an 8-hour shift. There are tanks for well water that has not been treated.
Mm-hmm.
There's the process, and then there's a tank for water that has been treated. We're hoping that when the dust settles, we will be able to run those tank pumps. We can fill up at nighttime. We can fill up that tank with the well water that has not been treated yet. Treat it during the day, and at night when we go home, still have water that we can send out to the system. In parallel to that, we have well number 2, which can run 24/7, and the water is good enough where it does not have to be treated. So with relying on well number 2 and with the storage capacities, and depending on the flexibility that we have at the onset and as we develop ourselves, we should be able to get that down to 8 hours. Whether or not we might even be able to not run on the weekends. A long weekend, we might have to run one day or something like that. But these are details we're working out. As far as meeting, it has been brought up, but we haven't followed up on it yet, that we become a large user of electricity. We should be able to get a discount. Also, with regard to demand rates, commercial electricity used to, and I think believe still has, a charge for your kilowatt hours, but also you get a sort of a penalty for the maximum you use in any one given day. That's a rolling 12 months, if it's the same system that I'm thinking of. So the trick would be to use the electricity when it's the cheapest. So it may turn out that running that at nighttime might be the most efficient. Again, it's real important if we can have it unmanned, and I think we might be able to get there. Now, these are good questions that we've developed, that if we go visit Gardner again, which the primary operator is planning on, and I may join him, going to Gardner for a training tour anyway. But now we'll go down there with pretty intelligent questions. And actually, I'm thinking of between now and Saturday, Gardner is almost on the way to work for me, so I may stop. And I know that I've worked with the people there before. I know them pretty well.
Okay. Do you foresee this treatment plant being unmanned at some time in the future?
Potentially. There's no guarantee of that. Little things like getting out of the consent order and things like that, I mean, I think it is up to DEP.
Okay.
If we show that, if we demonstrate the reliability of this plant, manned or unmanned, and the responsiveness and capability of the technical portion and the administrative portion of the water system, they're gonna say, sure, go ahead. But if they're nervous,
Is there a period that you go through when you're presenting this to DEP, and they'll say, okay, you know, you've done it for 6 months, or 9 months, or 12 months, and then they'll turn it over to the town?
it's not time-bound, it's performance-bound.
In performance, okay.
And also performance of the plant and of the staff. The plant has to prove itself. We say 11 hours, well, maybe it's 14 hours. We don't know that for sure. I would think it's going to be pretty close to 11 hours, but you need time to get in, start everything up, and then close everything down and go. So we're calculating 12 hours per day. And the overtime you see there, we're calculating 12 hours a day every day, which is a worst case. We may adjust that to most probable case. And again, I think the more, as I'm speaking, I think maybe Wednesday or sometime this week, I will stop at Gardner and see what I can learn.
And could you have a discussion with the Raleigh Municipal Light also? if you would?
I got a question about overtime. Now, you wrote in, there was a memo in the stuff we got earlier. It's been, budget's changed a little bit, it's been broken down better, and the copy comes from today, but I have worked for the state police, so I'm well aware of overtime and the wear and tear it puts on the men and the women who work it. Now, you have in your budget something along the lines of 200, close to $200,000 for overtime. That's assuming at this point you got 3 people. That's 8, 3, 7 to 21, 3. That's $60,000 a year in overtime. If you divided it equally, but what my concern is, and I'm getting back into the hiring of more people, is that is a heck of a lot of overtime, particularly when you're looking at people have to take a vacation, they take sick leave, they have training. I mean, I'm assuming there's probably going to be quite a bit of training time involved in this whole process. And I'm wondering if the current staffing, even if and I haven't gotten to the part where what you want to add for people other than something about a part-time person.
Dave,
We're going to beat these people to death.
Dave, I'm a little confused. Are you looking at line 3 or 4?
I'm looking at line 3.
4 and 5.
Let's see. I'm
On
looking.
Form 2, at the
Oh,
bottom.
okay, all right.
At the
I'm
bottom
lo-
of Form 2, it's 196, and then it's on the printout overtime calculations on the next page. It is showing 196.
I'm looking at. I don't know what.
You go Form 2.
I'm looking at the wages and salaries.
The breakdown.
Right, okay.
It's there, and then,
Yeah.
and then,
I'm
No,
looking
we're
at
looking at the
It's on
summary.
I'm looking at the 3rd page down,
yep,
which under line 3 it says line 4 overtime standby is 87,311, and then WTP provisional overtime is 109. So we're talking $200,000 in
That's for the
overtime.
water treatment plant.
Right, but I mean, assuming you're using the current employee, so if you're anticipating another, are you asking for another half of an employee? Is that that's what I saw in some of the original information I got. I don't know what you revised
It's only
it to.
15 hours a week is the additional person.
We're trying to be
No, I understand. I'm just,
proactive, to be cost-effective, and also at the 11th hour, try to put it all together.
no, I understand. I'm just trying to get a handle on this
The,
because I know
there are-
$60,000 worth of overtime a person is a lot of overtime.
Well,
It's a lot of hours.
There's a normal amount of overtime that they have because there's, coverage on the weekends. And so they shift and rotate the coverage on the weekends. And so they get overtime, on-call time. So that's accommodated in that budget. It's the 109,000 in this budget that we're looking at.
Right.
To see if we can, do we need another person, or do we need to be realistic about it? Like you say, you can't make a guy work 60 hours, 70 hours a week.
But is this for the initial turn-up, the water treatment plant overtime.
That's from last year's budget. We're looking at going forward, but we're trying to, we don't have the benefit of having the thing start up and see what the problems might be associated with. So we're projecting to some extent. what we anticipate-
109,000.
Yeah, 109,000 to cover anything that, that's saying at this projection point right now, which we're not sure is gonna be accurate. So Mark has talked with the primary operator, and I think Weston and Sampson. Mark, that you want to comment on that, where you came up with the 109,000?
Yeah.
Sure.
If you look at Form 1, lines 4 and 5, the very top page, line 4 and 5. Line 4, that is the standby coming in every weekend carrying the pager. That's overtime that we would normally see without the treatment plant. And we've actually reduced that by 30% from last year, 129,000 to 87,000. So that our regular overtime that we would normally see, we think we chopped off quite a bit of that in a good way, truthfully. I mean, we're not, that's the right word, accurately is what I want to say. And we've done some calculations on that to back it up. We broke out the line number 5, water treatment plant provisional overtime. That's $110,000, $109,000 based on that 12 hours a day, and our wells running 100% of the time, all the time. That's not likely to happen. So this is the research we're doing. We think we can cut that probably in half,
Okay.
down to about $55,000. But I don't want to I don't want to overlook your point, which is that overtime, it doesn't matter what the money is, it makes people work hard.
Yeah, I mean, you brought that up in some documentation you gave us, and I guess what I'm really getting at is, and it goes back to one of my original questions, is we're gonna have to hire somebody. Are we looking realistically now? Are we looking to hire a part-time laborer person, which I gather is what we were talking about? Or are we better off to hire a full-time, whatever license type it is, I'm not familiar with the licenses, and just bite the bullet and hire that person so that we have sufficient people? And that way, if someone is out sick or who knows, anything can happen, the person could be out for a while, that we've got somebody, at least 2 people, that, I'm just trying to look at the bigger picture here of, all right, fine, we can squeeze by with hiring a half-time laborer. But is that gonna really help us to move forward in this whole
We're
thing?
thinking that way, Dave, and, we wish we were having this conversation a month ago. But now we're trying to put it all together now.
Yeah, no, I understand.
And the other thing is worth noting is that the production, I'm not sure we're up to speed or up to capacity that we said we were gonna be up to for producing water. I think we're gonna be a little bit, needing a little bit, we're gonna be producing less water this year, according to what I've seen. And with that in mind, it might be that, the 8-hour shift for that plant might be sufficient with everything. So we need to produce a lot more water to get our rates down. But we're not. People are practicing conservation. So this comes into play too.
Well, you know what drives conservation? Do you know what drives conservation?
Cost.
You betcha.
Yeah.
So if you can't get the cost down, you're gonna be behind the 8 ball, because it's
Right.
gonna keep dropping and dropping and dropping.
So,
And people will get to the point where they'll actually go out and drill their own well.
yeah.
There's already been talk of it,
I know.
so.
My-
Yeah, when
We're doing
when
everything
we're
we can.
looking at the water treatment plant, and
We want to keep we want to keep it as cost effective as we can possibly do,
Mhm.
and produce safe drinking water.
Yep.
We can provide that safe drinking water. A person with their own private well, they're open to a lot of things that could happen with their well supplies and their problems with their own individual well supplies. So we're providing, and we're required by law to have safe, portable drinking water. And we're doing that. We're doing it as cost effectively as we can. And what would help is to try to figure out, and like I say, if we had this conversation a month ago, we'd have a little bit more time to meet with the power company to see if we can get better rates, come up with some ideas about how to get that, so.
Has the board discussed contract services to run the water treatment plant?
Not in a while.
No. Okay.
I'm highly in favor of that.
My other question, Mr. Chairman, is, Mark is saying he's gonna go back and, it might be 11 hours, it sounds like from what you're saying, Mark, that, because we're not running the pumps 24 hours a day, that we're probably gonna be able to get by with, for the most part, 7, 8, 9 hours of manning up there, whatever. But I guess my question is the engineering firm, you're gonna go back and work through based on your experience. Where is the engineering firm to tell us, based on our usage and our, all our system of 3 or 4 wells, whatever we have, and it seems to me there ought to be an engineer as part of the Weston and Sampson, I guess, that says, based on what you have and what we're building for you, this is what we anticipate, rather than us all sitting here saying, well, it might be 11 hours, oh, it might only be 8 hours, and it might be 2 people, or it might be, it's fine for us with our limited knowledge, and you people are just, you're lay people like we are. We're all in this together, but we hire these engineers and to tell us, not only to build the plant, but to give us a real accurate, within reason anyway, of what the costs are gonna be, what the manpower is going to be, how many hours a day are we going to run this? We need 10 million gallons of water a day, or how many hours is the pumps, and we got the one well that doesn't need to be treated. I mean, it's all supposed in this documentation, but there's nothing that gives us a clear definition of what we need and when we need and how we need it, and we're a week away from trying to deal with a budget, and I'm not looking to lay blame here. I'm just questioning, I guess I'm more concerned about what's the engineer done to us than I am about anything else. Because you people are in the same hole we are.
I understand the frustration of everybody in this room, but this thing is a complicated thing, but it's not a complicated thing because it's all automated. So you're going to have some bugs to work out, and then they have calculations or they have estimates of what it costs to run this thing. And that's going to be fine-tuned in the next couple of 3 months. Once they have that, we'll know what this particular treatment plant, with our pressures and heads that we got to push against and all that stuff, we'll have a better handle on that. But right now, we get to come up with a budget. And so, right now, Mark's done a good job getting some numbers down. Right now, we're looking at overtime. Maybe we should be looking at, hiring some other people. But we don't have a history right now to go with it.
I'm just
Littleton is not specifically like ours. I think they have an older system, because they've been around for a
Yeah,
while.
it's different.
We have more modernization in ours.
I'm just saying, all my whole argument, Tim, is that the engineer that brought this plan to us and said, this is gonna solve all your problems,
Yeah.
that's fine. They've built a nice, fancy plant up there, I'm sure, that in theory should run.
Yeah.
But I don't see them giving us, poor Mark is here, been working temporarily, trying to run the distribution system. Now he's thrown into trying to figure out a budget with I don't get the impression that he's gotten any expertise from or very little from Weston and Sampson on hard numbers or hard, you know what I mean? The poor man is, he's probably thinking, I gotta walk out of here tonight and just resign because I got an impossible task here.
We won't
I think you know what I'm saying, though. It's frustrating that we don't have some engineering expertise that's
they've given us
backing
the
up our...
expertise. We're just questioning it, but you're telling us it's 11 and a half, 12 hours a day to run the thing. And then with
Yeah,
that,
but he's telling us that that's at 100%, but we're not going to run it 100%.
I know, so we're looking at it with a different,
But they should give us some scenarios.
I know.
Yeah,
But can we go back to Mark?
We had a lot of change this year. We're at the tail end of damage control. We're almost on top of it. We're doing pretty well. The information is there. We just had to revisit it. It was provided to us early on. When we revisited it, the first place we went to was Weston and Sampson. What they couldn't tell us, they pointed us in the right direction. So they did help us. In fact, it was our primary operator. It was Glenn Smith who was actually doing this project. While I was working on the paperwork, he was actually out digging up all of this info with the help of Weston and Sampson. So a lot of it is just for them to come up with 11 hours, for them to come up with the capacity of the treatment plant, they had to learn all of those things, the engineering work. So I know the information's there. We have to go visit it. And what we'll do is, today we don't run the plants at 100%. Maybe in 5 or 10 years we will. So, Tim's correct, we don't have enough history right now. So I think a decision, a posit was made that we would try to handle this with overtime, at least in the beginning. After we get some experience, then we'll have better knowledge to make a better decision. And if it gets to be outrageous overtime, of course, we would have to do something different. But we're budgeting all that now, which is what's difficult.
But you're confident, Mark, that you can get this budget together to us this week?
It's almost done now.
Almost done.
There's fine details, and then the principal parts that we just talked about now we have to decide. But we have till the 27th, I think.
Well, no, that's the warrant for the special town meeting.
Okay.
Now, the budget needs to come in so the selectmen have time to review it over the weekend, so if it
Okay,
can come
so-
in on Thursday or Friday, so they have time to review it. They'll also have to get it out to the finance committee as well.
Okay. So
And
we're
you
looking
should
at-
plan
the
on-
first.
You should plan on being here next week. We're gonna have a joint meeting to launch the new water billing system with representatives of Penachuk, so we'll have a joint meeting next Monday, then we can talk about the budget after. And then Mr. White's here from the FinCom, and I think he would probably want the water board on for the April 1st meeting agenda as well.
Right.
So it's
Okay,
gotta
so
get out there.
realistically, end of day Thursday?
If you could, a Friday morning, midday Friday, so that they have enough time to review it. Mr. Chairman, I'm also thinking, we're really at the end here, and we haven't even talked about water rate analysis, which is imperative in a utility such as this, to make sure that they're actually going to be able to sustain these expenses through water rates. So I think that the board has to acknowledge that some of these estimates are going to be high because they're not sure, and as you do know, the budget plan that you have before you includes the addition of a part-time secondary operator. Licenses, these are licensed, so these are people with the qualifications, and that was revised. So I think that, we should probably focus on, after town meeting, continuing to review the costs in that department and maybe come up with some long-term plans that coincide with what the needs are to operate the department as a whole, not just the treatment plant. I think that would probably be the, prudent to start thinking about this.
Are there part-time licensed people out there who would work 20 hours? People with a license would work 20 hours?
The discussion came about last meeting. We had a gentleman that's retired fill in for us in some of our, periods when we have people on vacation and things like that. And he's willing to work, but he doesn't want to work full-time. He wants to work part-time. He still has his licenses. And he's willing to work for that rate. So that was the seed for putting a part-time person in. And I was thinking about it. He probably wouldn't want to do 20 hours a week, but he probably want to do 15. So in an effort to, use him instead of, overtime rates that we would have to expend if the thing became more cumbersome, we, figured maybe we could do it with this and try this trial to see what we really need. So we're all thinking in that direction. How can we make this more of a cost-effective thing? So there are people out there that are retired, that have a lot of experience, and that are qualified to help us out on a part-time basis.
Until this thing gets online, we don't know exactly what's going to happen until it's up and running. So everything, time-wise and gallon-wise.
they've given us a number, which is a kilowatt, how many kilowatt hours we'd have to have for a year. I think that they gave that to Glenn. So it's that kind of a number with seeing actually how many kilowatt
It's
hours.
tiered, just like water.
Right.
Yeah, or similar to water.
So,
And I mean, that number is gonna be bogus if in fact your hours of operation are bogus.
exactly. So,
So I mean, if you can reduce the hours of operation, you're gonna
Well-
reduce your light bill.
I know.
It's very simple.
I know, but do we have to produce as much water? Or, you know, it's a moving target. So that's why, and it's even more difficult when you start throwing tiered rate system into it. So there's 3 tiers of the rates.
Let's talk about, well, Mark, you have one more thing to add?
Just a point of clarification on getting the budget done by Thursday night. That doesn't include revenues, which would, as David was pointing out, was we still have to balance the rates with the costs. Our plan is to hire a specialist in rates who has worked with Raleigh before.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping he actually has some records I don't have to help the process, but he is familiar, so he can ramp up quickly. But he can't work on that until we're finished with the expenditures.
What else? Am I forgetting something? We covered everything for tonight.
Is there anybody that we could rely on at the power company to help us look at this number?
Well,
You need to
Folding.
talk to the manager.
Dan Foley. Anything else, Tim?
No, I think we're doing as much as we can at this point, so I think we'll be ready, okay?
Okay, so the budget will come in next week,
Actually, at the end of this week.
end of this week, and then
So that we can review it.
and we can review it on next Monday night.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Any comments from the commissioners? Have a motion to go out of.
No,
I'm
Mr. Chairman,
sorry.
we've got a couple more things. I don't know, maybe we've covered the water treatment plan update in this discussion.
We'll get
Uh,
to-
Really?
There's a special town meeting article that the water board needs to vote on.
Oh, yes.
Karen Summer can explain that.
Basically, as I mentioned to the water commissioners at their meeting last week, we had budgeted an amount of money for the legal fees involved with the permanent borrowing for the water treatment plant, and they actually came in $3,659.75 over what we had budgeted. So the commissioners need to transfer from their maintenance line to the cost of debt issuance line to cover that. Do I need to read this motion, or?
If you could just read the article so they can vote on it tonight.
Okay, so to see if the town will vote to transfer and appropriate the sum of $3,659.75 from line 8, Water Department Maintenance of Article 6 of the annual town meeting of May 6, 2013, to be added to line 26, cost of debt issuance of Article 6 of the annual town meeting of May 6, 2013, for a total appropriation of $88,659.75.
I'll put that motion forward. We have a second? Second. All in favor, roll call? Aye, Tim Toomey. Aye, Stu Delzo.
I wrote it.
Okay, to sign this?
Yeah, we can have them sign it.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, apparently the water board didn't have an opportunity at their last meeting to finalize the draft of the town report. That had to go to the printer today. So the draft version that Amy had has been sent. There was no flexibility in that deadline. We're up against the wall on that.
Okay.
So I think it pretty much was intact. So probably at your next meeting, you should just have a ratification vote on that, the last version that Amy had, right?
Make note of that.
If it matters, two of the three have already looked at it and approved it individually.
Yeah, well,
They need
that,
a vote. Okay.
they would need to discuss that and vote on that in open session.
Okay.
Okay, anything else on town articles that we need to discuss?
Yeah, they should sign it.
Do we need to sign
Excuse me,
this?
can you sign that, please?
It's red.
You gotta- I got it.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we've covered all the items for tonight. So with that, if there's nothing else from anyone, we have a motion to go out of joint session.
I'll make that motion.
I have a second.
Second it.
I have a second. All those in favor with a roll call vote.
Jack Cook.
Hi, Joe Perry.
I, Robert Snow.
Hey, Robert Murray.
All right, Dave Peterson.
I wrote it.
I Stu Delzo. I Tim Turner.
Gentlemen, thank you for coming in tonight.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Still,
Hey, Roy.
Roy,
Great.
Tim?
Tim, thank you.
Tim?
Thank you for your support. You do the real work, right?
No.
Mark, thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks, Mark.
good night now.
I hope the chief has some good news.
Chief, I know we're almost 55 minutes over here, so I apologize for being so long, but when it's budget season, that's the way it is. Okay. Police Chief Robert Barker is here to discuss the FY15 Police Department budget. Chief Barker will give us an overview. There are no wage changes to the full-time and reserve officers because the town is still in negotiations. With that, Chief, I turn it over to you.
Okay, I had sent a memo, and I'm just going to review some of the things in the memo. As you know, this budget has increases for dispatch and for some of the non-union personnel that were either provided for by the personnel bylaw or by the ASME contract. And so I've included those things, but I did want to point out, as I said in my memo, one thing that you board should be aware of is we've been operating the last 3 years with about $28,000 worth of 911 grant money. And that's been slowly creeping its way into our normal budget just because that's how much we spend. It's fine, I have no issue with it unless something happens to dry up that grant money, and then we're gonna be looking for the difference. So last year, as I think I said, I turned in about 10 grand. If you think about it, logically, I should have turned in a lot more than that because we had that grant money, but I've been using it to supplant expenses. So I just want the board to be aware of that. I'm not proposing any changes to the system. I believe that they're gonna fund the grants for next year in the same fashion, but it's something that I feel that should be pointed out anyways.
Is that grant money, because that's the money from the cell phone bills or the,
Yeah, exactly. And what's going to happen eventually is, they're looking for ways to dry that up. They're talking that nasty R word that no one here likes to talk about, but they're looking to try to consolidate costs and have everybody use cooperative dispatch centers, we'll call them. So, at some point they may make it difficult for us, but that hasn't come yet. So I'm not expecting that to be a problem for this year. I think I also talked about the retirement of Joe Gamache. is going to retire no later than December of next year. That's going to leave the number 2 spot open in the police department. Plus, it's going to leave an investigator's position open. We need both of those filled. The number 2 spot is a money wash because it'll be a promotion from within.
That's this year, right?
That's this coming year,
This year.
yeah. But the detective's position is going to be left open, and we just can't afford to be without a detective to follow up on these cases. I'll use an example, very timely. Officer Matt Ziv made another arrest this afternoon, 114.9 grams of cocaine worth over $9,000.
Wow.
These are the types of things that investigators do,
Yeah.
and you know, it's out there. This is his second arrest of that nature. Last Friday, he also solved a burglary, and we made an arrest on that. These are the types of things that we need a detective for, to follow up these things. Joe was on vacation for a couple of weeks, and without Matt stepping up, we would have been in trouble. So that's why I bring these points to your attention. In order to replace Joe, we're going to need also to replace his hours and his. If we hire a new full-time patrolman to take his place, then we have to send that patrolman through academy. Currently, it's about 5 months worth of academy, and when they come out, then they're ready to go. But in the meantime, we have 5 months we need to fill, and we can fill that at reserve rates. However, not in the way I'm currently budgeted. It's about $16,000 to do that. If we decide we want to do a assessment center to make promotions, which I strongly recommend. I've got a couple of informal quotes. It'd be around $7,500 to do those assessment centers. That would cover a sergeant promotion and a lieutenant promotion. So that's pretty much it from the salary side.
Chief, just a
Yeah,
question.
sure.
So we've had discussions with you, I think Bob,
Right.
you and I, and the town administrator met, and we talked about if Joe, when Lieutenant Gamache, Detective Gamache leaves, we're talking about creating just a plain lieutenant's position.
Correct.
We're also talking about taking theoretically, one of the patrolmen and making that into a full-time detective position.
Well, that'd be ideal.
I mean, yeah,
That's
so
a- that's a
I'm
big-
talking the goal now.
Yeah, the goal. Yeah, that's
How we get there is another issue.
Right. Yeah, I'm afraid to even dare to ask for something like that.
So what basically then what we're looking at is hiring one new patrolman to replace the Gamache.
Right.
The whole. In
Right,
other words, there's
yeah.
a position will open up all the way
Exactly.
through.
Exactly.
In theory. So we also discussed the possibility of. I mean, years ago when you were appointed chief, it was the last major reorganization of the department because
Right.
we eliminated the deputy chief's position and we made the lieutenant, who was a detective, into a detective slash deputy chief slash lieutenant.
Right.
And we cut back the budget quite a bit. I don't remember exactly how much, but it was a
It
good
was
cost
significant.
saving. And I'm wondering at this point in our discussions, I think it's really time, I don't know how the budget sits for money, that we look at hiring another patrolman.
Well, in support of
Because
that,
we really need, if you're gonna need a full-time detective, that's an additional, that's really, you're taking hours of patrol hours away that
Exactly.
person now is on patrol. So
exactly.
I don't know if, do we think we have money in the,
It's a little too soon to say, because once again, we're looking at a police budget that it factors in no wage increases, because hopefully, we're close to coming to an agreement with the union. So until I know what those costs are gonna be under this budget scenario, I'm not sure if we will have the ability to absorb adding another position. So that's.
but it's something we need to
that's-
think about in terms
Yes,
of.
yes,
In support of that, I'd point out that when I took over as chief, Kevin Barry and John Geibel both retired, and neither of those positions were ever replaced. So we were running 2 men shorter, and his budget in 2009 was more than my budget is right now. So you're right, we had significant cuts. and we haven't caught up to the 2009 level yet.
Okay,
I'm,
I kind of want to throw that on the table, and
right.
I'm not sure when we're going to know how much money we got.
Yeah, like you said, it all comes down to, if there is a settlement with the police union, we get an MOA issued fairly soon, and the chief can give me some, what the increase is gonna be. I think I've gotta add that into the mix, because actually the new hire then will be hired in a new wage system.
Correct.
Because
And that's the key thing. I think hopefully by next week, we should have some direction either way, because we're running out of time at this point.
Right.
because the other issue here is if you're hiring either one patrolman, you got the academy time, which you mentioned.
Right.
If we want to hire two patrolmen,
I may be able to skate on that. We may be able to stagger them and make it so the academy doesn't have as much impact.
and then if we were to hire enough money in the budget to be able to hire a patrolman for the full year, but actually only hire him for half a, actually physically
Sure.
hire him for half a year, that would give us money available for the training times and to fill that void when,
Correct.
because it's, with the amount of police activity we've seen in the last year or two, and you're talking about 2 drug arrests just in the last week, and I know we've had a number of different incidences. I mean, we're really at a point where we can't afford, I don't think, to keep the police department at its current finance. That's really a priority if we can fund it. Obviously, if we don't have money, we don't have money, but
I'm very concerned
I
with
think it needs to be a priority in looking to putting the final budget together.
As we talked before, Chief, I'm very concerned about with the surrounding towns, with, a need for a detective. I mean, it is critical.
We cannot function without a detective.
No.
At the very least, we need to at least make a detective, even if we don't add any hours. We need to have someone that can utilize some of the training and make the networking, because as it stands now, we have union issues if we try to assign someone as a detective without
Right.
making them a detective. So at the very least, whether we fund any additional hours or manpower for it, we at least need to make a detective. And that costs about $5,000 in salary difference.
Any comments from the board?
No, I think, are we talking about putting a hold on this budget?
Well, I don't think we were looking for approval tonight. We needed to get this in front of you so you could at least see,
Right.
this is the minimum amount.
Right.
But we have all these issues hanging out there, and we're trying to just
All right, so that, then.
get a sense, we did let the union know, I'm running out of time with this. If there's a way we can come to an agreement within the budget timeframe, then we'll have all that in this, and it will significantly change.
So are we rescheduling?
The chief will have to come in next week.
Yeah.
Right, nice.
He knows that.
Yeah, I figured that,
If
yeah.
he's coming in for more, he won't mind. Just one quick question. I didn't have a chance to really go through your budget, Chief. You got a cruiser listed in the,
I put a cruiser
in the budget.
in the budget, yes.
Now, we were also talking about trying to,
We've got that as the additional replacement vehicle is an appropriation.
a separate article,
So
so.
you were talking about a capital needs bond.
Yeah, we don't want to borrow on that one, but we.
That's not part of the borrowing, but
Oh,
it's an
okay.
We
appropriation.
put a separate article to buy, because you had this, the one in your budget would be the Ford Explorer.
Ford Explorer,
cruiser,
yes.
And then the other one would be the Taurus,
Right, that's a cheaper.
the sedan.
That's an administrative
Okay.
car.
So those are both in the budget, Debbie, or one's in the budget. And
I put one in my budget,
are
I didn't put
budgeting.
the other in the.
The other one is an article.
Is in our, we've already planned on that, so I think
Okay.
that's.
As we talk every year for a small little town, it's an awful lot of miles we put on those cars.
We do,
They
and,
took
you
an
know,
awful lot of punishment.
just so you know, the oldest cruiser just blew a head gasket, so
Yeah.
I'm going to fix that.
And the problem is periodically, we gotta buy an extra car. I mean, we do
Yeah.
one,
Yeah,
we
we
try to
have.
do one a year, and then once in a while, we gotta do two, just to
Yeah,
keep the
and if
fleet.
we don't do it soon,
Yeah.
we're gonna have problems with that Dodge. The Dodge is the next one to go, and I'll be glad to see it gone.
Bob ran a fleet, I ran a fleet, and, you know, you just have to keep
Yeah.
up on your vehicles. Otherwise, you know, you're behind the 8 ball.
We had to
It
take the
happens just
Dodge,
like that.
we had to take the Dodge out of patrol because it was so unreliable. It's now the detective uses that car. And the one driver has helped it, but it's
Yeah.
it's got 75,000 miles or 80,000 miles on it anyways, and I'm not looking forward to fixing it.
We've also put together, when we discussed the capital budget, you know, $100,000 out of available funds to fund a station, look at police and fire station combined, or two separate buildings, or, so whatever, you know, once you get squared away, you know, be putting together some information,
Right.
because if that's on the special town meeting warrant, I believe,
Yes.
and we want to get going on that, because if we're going to put something together, we want to be able to do it for the next annual town meeting. So that's going to be a priority in the next few months to assuming it passes, to get a plan together so we can present it to the taxpayers for the next fiscal year, because
Right.
we're really desperate for fire and police station
So-
construction.
Chief, do you have anything else to add for tonight?
If I'm good, if you're good, I'd put in a little extra money in my budget for gasoline and a couple of service contracts and stuff that just we haven't increased those line items
Okay.
for quite a while, but it's not a lot of money. You know, I'd bring that. I'd illustrate those better once we have a final budget to work with. You know. Next week when I come back, you know, I'll be prepared to. I'm prepared now, but we can go back into all those details.
Okay.
Because we're gonna have to come back anyways and finalize things.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. Chief, we'll see you next week.
Okay.
Thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for tonight.
Thank you for waiting.
All right. Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
I'm gonna lose them 1-0, by the way.
I'll say that. Okay. Oh, way behind. Again, it's budget season. Cemetery? There, Peter's here. Peter, come on in. Right up front here, we reserved a seat for you. Jack, you wanna jump over there? Change hats?
Don't jump. Yeah, just take it easy.
Okay. Okay, and I again apologize, Peter, for so long being out there, but it's budget season, it's the way it goes. All right, yeah, but, again, 8 o'clock appointment, 55 minutes late almost. Board of Cemetery Commissioners to discuss the FY14 revolving fund cap and the FY15 revolving fund cap. Call for a motion to go into joint session with Board
I'll make that
Selectmen and the Board of Cemetery Commissioners.
Make
I
that
have that
motion.
motion.
I'll second.
I have a second. All those in favor of the roll call vote.
Hi, Joe Perry.
Aye, Robert Snow.
Hi, Robert Mary.
Hi, Dave Peters.
Hi, Jack Cook.
Okay. Okay, Bill Gaines is on vacation, is unable to attend. He met with Debbie to explain the cemetery board needs and to have their FY14 revolving fund expenditure cap raised to $20,000. The cemetery revolving fund has a balance of $15,512. They have spent $9,784 to date and need to access these funds to continue operating the cemetery department through June 30th, 2014. In FY15 annual town meeting warrant, the cap will be set at $20,000. Okay. We need to vote to approve the expenditure of the cap. Anything, Jack, you want to add to this before I go?
No, the only thing, I think you said that to continue, we do have money in our regular wage, but this is a new account, and for the last 3 years, 2 years really, we have started performing digging year-round.
Mm-hmm.
And as you see, we, you know, our rates are up during the winter. And it's, you know, it don't cost the taxpayer, but it does cost in the cemetery department our wages. Now, if we would have use our wages and we didn't have this revolving account, we'd be out of money.
Okay.
And as we dig a grave, perform during the winter, we just turned in almost $3,000. Of that $3,000, the last month and a half, the town get $1,500. It's 50-50. It's like a lot of other departments, and God bless Jack Demento said, Jack, you know, you guys put the rates up and start this revolving account. We started, 6 years ago, Pete, was it? And we started with 5,000. Well, that did work. We didn't use a lot of it. The money carries year to year. Now, say if, for instance, right now, if you fellas vote to transfer the 5,000, would leave us around 10 for next year's budget. Now, we can only spend what we got in there. We can't overspend it or whatever. But I mean, this account really helps us to do our duties during the winter. I mean, a lot of people out there, you know, we hate putting, you know, bodies in the building, then come back in the spring. You know, we have a lot of work. We've done, 11, Pete, so far since November. But we've had a lot of snow, and when we dig them, fill them, they settle with the weather,
Right.
with the chunks of ice and dirt, whatever out there. And we do have quite a bit of work, another month or so to level
Level graves up.
Memorial Day, you know, get them ready and all that. So it's, well, like I say, really helps us during the winter, and we get the job done. That we don't have to go back in the spring. You know, one time we had 11 over there. We had a holder of 9. Now we did away with that. We're digging. Helpful, the highway department. Peter usually calls Ron, or we go over and see Pat or Ron. They're always helping. And use the backhoe.
Good.
Work together, you know. We're not looking for an increase of taking it from the taxpayer. It's the people that we charge when we have to bury someone.
So basically, Jack, this is, in other words, your costs are higher, number one, but
Definitely.
also because of the increase in that you're charging for fees, there's more money coming into the fund, so they really balance out.
Right.
And you need the $20,000 a year figure to
Yeah.
just make ends meet with the increased cost plus
Right.
the increase in fees. So.
Yeah,
Especially really
Right.
opening graves in the wintertime.
yeah.
Yep.
Well, we're not gonna say, I mean, I can't tell you how many graves we're gonna
No.
dig.
Yep.
We don't know,
If you
might
can
be us.
tell me. that we're gonna
I don't think I want to be able to
use,
tell
We
you
got a
that.
bump off.
you know, over there, you know. There's a lot of cremations now. We've been doing a lot of them. It's, you know, I'm gonna say, what would you say, Pete, now, 50-50? Yeah, you know, it's, years back, we didn't have that many cremations.
I
Back then,
noticed
years
there's a lot
back,
more
We were only getting,
cremations.
when
Up
Bob
on-
was a commissioner, we were probably only getting open
Right,
and grave
right.
$50 or $100.
Yeah,
Yeah.
50, I think, when I was out there digging.
Yeah,
I'll make a motion based on the information we've gotten, Mr. Chairman, that we raise the cap, support a selectman vote to raise the cap to $20,000 in the revolving fund.
Do I have a
For the Board
second?
of Cemetery Commissioners.
Yep. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second. Any discussion from the board? All those in favor?
Aye, Joe Perry.
Aye.
Oh.
Well, no, do we need a roll call vote?
Yes.
Aye, Robert Snow. Good job. Thank you.
I Bob Mary.
Hi, Dave Peters.
I Jack Cook.
Okay.
But I think what we're looking for tonight is to, that wouldn't take effect until Maytown meeting.
Okay.
I think what we're looking tonight is to
Oh, wait a minute.
transfer.
The fiscal year would
No,
be?
Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, based on my meeting with Mr. Gaynor, so what we have to do, because the town meeting warrant article capped it at 10,000 per fiscal year, there's a balance of 15,000, they've spent 9,000. When I was speaking with Bill, it just, the wise thing to do was just to raise it to 20, so they have flexibility. This approval requires an affirmative vote of the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee
For this fiscal year.
for this fiscal year. So, actually, what we'd like to do, Mr. White has given me permission to revise the FinCom agenda for tomorrow evening. We'd like to have one representative from the Cemetery Board attend tomorrow night's Finance Committee meeting at 7:45, just to personally make that request. It shouldn't be a joint meeting because there's not enough time to post it as a joint meeting. So if one member of the board can attend tomorrow night's meeting.
You
So
do that, Jack?
if they
Okay.
vote it tomorrow night, then you're all set.
You're all set for this fiscal
Okay.
year.
Going forward in the town meeting warrant article, annual town meeting warrant article, we're gonna change that to 20,000. So it'll be printed as 20,000
Yeah,
cap.
going from 10
to 20.
right.
Because it just doesn't make sense to go to 15. If you're at
Yep.
15,500, now you can't spend that.
Go to the full 20.
I think it just gives you the flexibility you need.
Okay.
So the other thing too, Debbie, that if we only have 18 in there, we're still covered.
You
Yeah,
cover
you're
it up to
covered up to
20.
20.
Up to 20.
So it's just the
You
flexibility.
don't have to spend the whole 20, you can spend 12
No,
or
no,
14.
Yeah.
well, we're not anticipating
like-
to
yeah, like
spend
you've
that,
been
but
doing.
right now, we only get 200, and if we start taking out of the regular wages, we're saving that for mowing and all that stuff. We get around 9,000, I think, left in that. And that'll go pretty quick once we start mowing and cleaning up and all that stuff, so.
No, so it covers cemetery department operations, so
Right,
it's
right, I
pretty
understand.
broad what you can use the revolving fund for.
All right, Jack?
Yeah.
All right. So tomorrow night.
So
So,
one
any other
member
questions from the board? Okay.
7:45, right?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to
Yeah, right.
adjourn the joint meeting.
Thank you.
I have a motion to adjourn the joint meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor with a roll call vote?
Aye, Joe Perry.
I Robert Snow.
Hi, Robert Mary.
Hi, Dave Peters.
Hi, Peter Dalzell.
Hi, Jack Cook.
Jack, Peter, thank you so much for coming in
Thanks,
tonight. Okay.
Thank you.
Peter, thanks. Thanks for coming in.
Peter? Jack?
Thanks for your-
Yeah, come on and sit down. Wanna let
See
you out of
later,
here.
Pete. Yeah, thank you, Pete.
Thanks, Pete. Okay, that's the appointments for tonight. Move on, we have a couple of more old business to discuss. Thanks, Larry. Okay. Old business number 2, discuss and review FY15 budgets and town meeting articles. Okay. Discuss and review FY15 budgets, park and recreation. There's maintenance expenses that are up.
Well, what we did, Mr. Chairman, let me get
Yes.
my paperwork out here. We had a discussion with the Parks people, and if you look at the FY15 wages, there's a reduction from 7792 in 14 to 3896 in 15, because that position has been unfilled. And what they would prefer to do is, they're gonna try and fill it with a part-time person, but what they would prefer to do is take that money out of the wages and put it into maintenance. Because
Okay.
with maintenance costs being up, that's basically what they're doing,
Yeah, that's really where the need is.
need is at this point.
You know.
And the other issue, I guess, is as we move forward on the ball field over there, to construction, in the next fiscal year, for next year, I think anyway, if maybe, we really need to look at the whole rec department budget, overhaul it and see, because they're gonna need some major,
It's really gonna change.
some funding to maintain and someone to oversee all that. Tim Southall does it now as a member of the board of Parks and Rec. But we're gonna need to pay somebody to do some of that, or take that over. And if he leaves the board for some reason, there's nobody else to do it at
Right.
all, so we need to, but right now we're okay, and he's okay with it, and it's just something to look forward to for the next budget year. But,
Okay.
so based on that, I'll give you
Have a
a
motion?
motion to accept the budget as presented.
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
School
Aye.
budget. I think we've talked about this.
Talked it to death.
We talked it to death. I think we all need to, okay. Well, anyways, let's just go through it quickly.
So Whittier's assessment is up 38,000.
Up $38,000.
It's based on an email that I received from the superintendent, though. His budget still isn't finalized. I think they meet in the first week in April. I can hold off on this if you want.
He's not really sure about,
The school committee hasn't met, the Whittier Vocational School Committee. That's the number that he gave me as an increase.
I'm assuming then this is the maximum number, and if anything, they will redo. I would
I'm
recommend we just, let's vote it.
It changes,
It changes the
I'll bring
next
it
week.
back.
Otherwise, it may come down, but if it comes down, it's all right. We can reduce it at town meeting.
Yeah, I don't think it'll.
okay, let's have a motion with,
I'll make that motion.
and that's with, in case there's,
Do you want a motion for all the school budgets, or Whittier, capital, and how do you want to do it?
It's easier if you just vote it, so I can get it into the system.
okay, let's vote it.
You want us to vote the whole
Yeah,
thing as
vote.
one
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
school?
Just vote the whole thing, and then if it
Total of
changes,
$8,675,000.
I'll
It
come
is
back.
plural at
662.
the top, schools. So-
Yeah, no, but I mean, you don't want the Whittier separate from the.
No,
No.
it's just easier.
Do the whole thing.
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion, a second,
I'll second.
a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, moving on to insurance.
I assume those are just increased costs that were being assessed based on.
That's right.
Essex retirement time is up 11%.
I restore the unemployment line back to historical level of 12,000. We transferred some money out of that this fiscal year to pay for a town meeting, I believe. The property casualty, workers' comp, and law enforcement and general liability policies are going up, mostly the workers' comp piece. Our modules are showing, because we've had some claims that have triggered it into a higher class. That's going up. We also, don't forget, pay for the deductibles. So those can range in different, 500 to 1,000 to a general liability claim can be, that we're in court over, could be, substantially higher. So we usually are able to offset this through training and seminars where there are deductibles, prompt payment plans. We also get dividends. So, we work to reduce the overall costs. So I'm optimistic that even though this is the budgeted amount, I believe that we'll be able to have the whole entire cost come in lower than budget, as we have in the past.
Any questions from the board?
No, I'll give you the motion
I have a motion,
Second.
as submitted.
have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Actually, I'm gonna recuse.
Next one, streetlights. I'll have to recuse myself too.
I'll give you the motion. Approve it as submitted.
Insurance.
I'll second. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman,
Jack,
we're
second.
seeking clarification. Mr. Murray recused from the vote on the insurance budget?
Yes.
Oh, the insurance budget. Oh,
Only because
okay.
I participate in it.
That's right.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh, I
Just
got
talk about
it.
Motion was
going to
made by
the-
Dave
too,
Peterson
so-
and seconded
Or
by
anybody else? Yeah,
Yeah, he seconded, voted, so.
Jack Cook. Seconded that motion?
No, wait a minute,
No,
on
wait
the
a
other
minute.
one, is Bob excused him from it, hold it.
I recuse myself.
You recuse, Bob
you
I
should-
recused
recuse
himself.
myself.
Jack has a question.
Jack has to recuse
Jack
himself.
should
I have to-
recuse himself.
Okay, so then we want to have a motion to withdraw the,
Have a motion to
vote.
withdraw the vote.
I'll make that motion.
Have
I'll
a
second.
motion, and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
The vote is
Yeah.
withdrawn.
I'll make the
Now.
motion, the new motion.
New motion,
I'll second that.
and a second. All those in favor?
Abstain.
Abstain.
Abstains. There we go. Okay.
All right.
Okay, now,
You wanna lose you
streetlights.
two guys.
What are you gonna do if you got another one in there? Three to-
You guys probably can't vote on the street.
No, the two of us, we can't.
So I'll make a motion to approve the streetlights at 27,578 as submitted.
Joe seconded.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't know if you can.
Two recusals.
Two recusals.
Two recused. Okay.
How about the hydrants? We get to recuse ourselves for the hydrants?
You got one in front of your house?
No, as a matter of fact, I don't, so I'm all set.
Okay,
Matter of fact, I do.
I do.
okay.
I'll give you a motion to accept the,
Well, you should read my footnote. I don't
Okay.
have a, I
Okay, Debbie
can't-
has level funded the
Yeah,
FY fifteen budget. The
I
water
don't know.
department has not yet issued the FY fifteen rental
I've
cost.
asked.
yeah.
Okay, let's hold off. We'll.
No,
we'll-
I
No,
I
we'll-
asked, I'm not asking you, I've asked them, if there needs to be adjustment when we get the bill next May 2015, we'll make an adjustment. I just, they're trying to figure out the formula, and I'm running out of time.
I'll give you the motion.
Motion?
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Historic District Commission, Historical Commission.
I'll give you the motion. It's level funded.
Have a motion?
Second.
I have a second. I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Harbor Master,
I'll give you the motion, and the increase is all in wages.
wages, okay.
I'll give you the
Second.
motion.
Have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Debt, let me find it first. I think there's a Harbor Master still. Okay, debt. Okay,
Wow.
it's gone down.
Minus
16%.
16%,
Oh,
yeah.
God.
Yeah, well, some things have been
We have
paid
a
off,
very
so-
small debt compared to
Too
many
bad
towns around.
Karen had to leave.
I know, yeah,
Congratulate her
she'd
on
be
another
excellent
item.
to sit and walk us through this about the debt, but it has gone down, and again, we
Well,
have.
principals drop every year anyway.
Yeah.
Or the interest based on the principal being lower, so.
But, as I've talked to Karen over the years, compared to other towns around here, we have a very small debt.
Mhm.
So,
Well, I mean,
Yeah, the fire
lucky
truck
enough
is
we've-
paid off.
We've actually got two of them, and one of them is the capital debt.
Right.
This is showing the previous approvals by the board on the borrowing plans for the special and the annual. So you'll see interest that we're showing budgeted
Capital equipment, interest, 3.
for the fiscal 15, borrowings for the highway department.
The engine, the
Dump
engines.
truck, and then the ladder truck. However, if the ladder truck fails at the override,
Yeah.
there'll be no interest payment.
Now, well, we'll discuss that next.
Yes.
Okay, so,
I'll give you the motion to approve the debt as submitted.
have a motion?
Second.
Have a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Okay, discuss the fire department ladder truck override alley.
Mr.
quote.
Chairman,
We have-
Oh,
can you go back to the first page under old business too?
Old business too.
No, right there.
Special town meeting.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So these are the articles that I actually wrote up, sent over to the bond council today. So
Okay.
Karen was able to turn it around fairly quickly. So you
Okay,
can
just-
see what the articles look
To see if
like.
the town will appropriate $171,200 or any other amount to be expended by the Board of Selectmen for the purpose of undertaking the following capital purchases. One, $42,200 for purchasing and installing computer software programs and other technological upgrades for the following departments: accounting, treasurer collector, Conservation Commission, Board of Selectmen, Police Department, Fire Department, and Library Department. Two, $71,000 for the upgrades to the following facilities: replacing rotted areas of the town wharf, painting the exterior of the Raleigh Public Library, purchasing and installing a new handicap door, and constructing, installing an awning at the handicap entrance to the town hall, replacing the handicap door at the town hall annex, purchasing, installing new flooring for the town hall, and upgrading the cemetery department building. 3, $58,000 for the purchase of an automobile for the Council on Aging and a tractor for the cemetery department, including all the costs incidental related to thereof, determine whether this amount shall be raised by borrowing or otherwise, provided, and C, authorize the Board of Selectmen to take any other action necessary to carry out this project or any other relative here thereto. Okay. We'll take this separately. Yeah.
Do we need you want a motion
A
to
motion to
put
put,
that on the special town
Sure.
meeting? I'll make the motion.
have a motion, have a
I'll
second.
second.
Have a second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, also, annual town meeting, dump truck article, to see if the town will appropriate $180,000 or any other amount to be expended by the Board of Selectmen to pay the cost purchasing a 6-wheel dump truck and plow and sander for the highway department, and for the payment of all other costs incidental and relative thereto, to determine whether this amount shall be raised by borrowing or otherwise, to authorize the Board of Selectmen to take any and all action necessary to accomplish the purposes for this article, to take any other action relative thereto. A motion that the sum of $180,000 is appropriated to be expended at the direction of the Board of Selectmen to pay costs purchasing a 6-wheel dump truck and plow sander highway department, and for the payment of all other costs incidental relative thereto, that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, is authorized to borrow said amount under pursuant to Chapter 44, Section 7(9) of the general laws, or pursuant to any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town therefore. The Board of Selectmen are authorized to take any or all action necessary to accomplish the purposes of this vote.
I'll give you the motion to put the article on town meeting.
Have a motion, have a
Annual town meeting
second?
warrant.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
That takes care of old business too, correct? All right. Old business 3. Discuss the fire department ladder truck override. The bond council has approved the following article in ballot questions. The Board of Selectmen needs to vote to place the question on the May 13th, 2014 annual town election ballot. The Selectmen already voted to place this article on the annual town meeting warrant. 2014 town meeting ladder truck article, to see if the town will appropriate $735,000 or any other amount to expend by the Board of Selectmen to pay the cost of purchasing a ladder truck for the fire department, for the payments of all other costs incidental relative thereto, to determine whether this amount shall be raised by borrowing or otherwise, to authorize the Board of Selectmen to take any or all action necessary to accomplish the purpose of this article, to take any other action relative thereto. Motion that the sum of $735,000 is appropriated to be expended at the direction of the Board of Selectmen to pay the cost of purchasing a ladder truck for the fire department, and for the payments of all other costs incidental and relative thereto, that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, is authorized to borrow said amount under pursuant to Chapter 44, Section 7(9) of the general laws, or pursuant to any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town therefore. The Board of Selectmen is authorized to take any and all action necessary to accomplish the purpose of this vote. No sum shall be borrowed or expended pursuant to this vote unless and until the town shall have voted to exclude the amounts needed to repay any borrowing authorized by this vote for the limitations on the property taxes contained in Chapter 59, Section 21C of the general laws, Proposition 2.5. Ballot question. Shall the town of Raleigh be allowed to exempt from the provisions of Proposition 2.5, so-called, the amount required to pay for bonds issued in order to pay costs of purchasing a ladder truck for the fire department and for the payment of all other costs incidental and relative thereto.
I'll give you the motion for the ballot, to place a ballot question on the ballot.
Second.
I have a second. All those, any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, if I could just jump in on that discussion, just if you notice, the bond council did give me that as a form of ballot question. If you notice, the 735 is not listed in that ballot question, and that's standard. However, I don't know if you want to make sure that that number is in the ballot question.
Yes, that number,
Yes, I'll amend my
I-
motion.
Make motion with that-
Number
that amount.
$735,000.
I will come back and we'll discuss this again, this ladder, because it's important to the town.
Yeah, okay, so a motion by Mr. Peterson to place the
And
the question on the
a
ballot.
motion, and second by Jack.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. We will come back and we will discuss that again. That is a very important item for the town. Okay. Old business, number 4, discuss the purchase of the Raleigh Girl Scout camp land. Discuss the purchase of the Raleigh Girl Scout camp land. Girl Scouts of Eastern Massachusetts have accepted an offer by the Selectmen to purchase the Raleigh Girl Scout camp for $2.5 million. This is well below the town's appraised value of $2.9 million. The Girl Scouts appraised price was $3.1 million. The town can afford to purchase this land through a combination of appropriated Community Preservation Act funds and borrowed community preservation funds. Board of Selectmen needs to take the following actions. Vote to place an article on the special town meeting warrant authorizing the purchase of the property in the amount of $2.5 million through a combination of CPA available funds, $1.7 million in CPA borrowed funds of $800,000. 2. The vote to place an article on the special town meeting warrant appropriating $20,000 to $25,000 of CPA funds to cover the following costs. Survey of the Girl Scout land, legal work including writing, purchase, and sale agreement, deed, recording costs, and consultants to assist with the grant application. 3. Designated one selectman, Dave Peterson and Bob Murray, to attend the CPC meeting on Thursday and present a draft article for the purchase of the land and article seeking funding to be used for costs associated with the purchase. Okay.
I'll give you the motion, Mr. Chairman, for item number 1, to put the article on the town meeting warrant for the $2.5 million,
Okay, I have
as
a,
listed here.
for article number 1, I have a motion.
I'll second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Article, number 2. Have a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion. Do I have a
Second.
second? I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, to designate either Dave or Bob, which,
I've been going, because Joe's gonna be there anyway, as part of the CPC. Do you wanna go, Bob?
No, it's up to you, Dave.
You can go if you want.
No, you've already done it. If you want to go, fine. I mean, if you don't, then
Yeah, I'll go. No,
you guys want to arm wrestle this?
no,
No, I mean, it's, Dave has been carrying
No,
the
no.
contact right along, so.
Yes, no, I'm available to go.
You're available to go,
If
Dave?
you want me to go,
Okay.
fine. If I can't, I'll contact
The
them.
Okay.
committee's very used to see his charming face, so I mean.
Oh, they'd be happy to see me again, I'm sure. Well, I'm willing to do that. That's fine.
No comment.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
I move that we designate Dave Peterson.
I have a
Second.
motion. I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations,
The number
Dave.
2 one, I don't know, I'm just trying to gauge how much we're gonna need, 20 to 25. I think the survey and the, creation of a survey plan
I'm gonna ask for 25.
is
but
gonna
make
be
it-
a lot
make-
of money.
Make it 25, please.
All right, and if we do need any other consultant to help with the grant application for the self-help grant, I mean, after we get through the open space plan filing,
Yeah.
there's still an application, and it's gonna be a lot of work to get that done.
Mhm.
So we may need some assistants, professional
Yeah,
assistants.
if we go to the 25, we may have some left over.
Well,
I
and
think-
plus, they have money available anyway, right, out of their regular expense account, if we need to go to them for some.
Yeah, they do have an administrative, I don't know what the balance is, if that's okay.
They normally have
But I think definitely 25,000 to cover,
Yeah, the survey is gonna cost a lot of money.
it's gonna be expensive, because it's a huge piece of land compiled from various other,
There's
over
at
the
least
years, other
three
lands.
separate parcels.
Yeah.
that
And
were
the abutting
combined.
properties, we couldn't find good records on those, so.
I just wanna say in the discussion here that we waited with bated breath because Bob and I and the town administrator, we talked to the girls, the Girl Scout person on Monday, and she was gonna present it to the meeting on Tuesday night to their regional board or whatever, however they.
She's
they
basically
work
the
it.
director of the council.
Yeah, and she was hoping, sounded positive, and we didn't get word till Friday that they actually accepted our offer, which is really good news, because gives us time now to get all this done, and it's, as we've discussed many times, it's
This is
a
important.
great piece of property.
Yes.
Well, probably one of the better pieces of property we've bought in town for a long time in terms of future use, and it'd be great. I'm assuming the townspeople will support this, and the CPC will. I don't think we've got any negative feedback, to my
This-
knowledge anyway.
This is so advantageous to the town. I mean, the whole character of the town.
Well, there's so much potential if we can issue an RFP and lease it out to an organization that will have, run, day camp, community-based activities for all age groups and things like that, similar to a YMCA model. It gives an opportunity for the children in the community, teenagers to maybe get jobs,
This,
so there's a lot of opportunity, and,
An adult program.
and that was important for the Girl Scouts, actually, to almost see a continuity of the purpose of the land, which is,
plus this preserves the heart and the core of the town.
yeah,
I mean, that is the really important part of this.
for the people of the town.
For the
to use.
people of the town. Years from now, people are gonna look back, they'll forget who we were, everything else, but they'll say, great purchase.
And one of the other issues that are there, or the other benefits that are there, I should say, is that it actually abuts the recreation land on Haverford Street, the ball
Right.
fields that we already
Yes.
have. So, I mean, it's gonna get all tied together, which is, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I know some people will have the feeling, well, we're taking more tax property off the rolls, but in fact, we are not in this particular instance, because this is a private organization
Yes.
that's, doesn't
Tax
pay
exempt.
taxes. So, I mean, it's a piece of land that sits there, we're not gonna lose any taxes because we buy it,
Right.
and we're gonna gain the benefits, all the benefits that go with it.
And for recreation purposes, this will
Yeah.
open up the town. Really will.
Absolutely.
This is this is probably one of the best things we'll do as selectmen. Okay, moving forward, new business, approve the FY15 health insurance renewal. The town's health insurance is going up by 5.53% in FY15 for all plans. Board of Selectmen needs to vote to accept the increases and authorize Debbie to sign the renewal. So again, as you can see on the Meyer Health Benefits Trust.
We don't have much choice, I'll give it a motion,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, to accept the health insurance rates as given.
Okay, I have a motion to accept the increase. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I recuse myself.
Abstain. Yeah, I'm on it.
Yeah, that's right,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right. Okay. Two recusals. Okay. Announcements. Raleigh Veterans Association Community Blood Drive, March 31st. That's next Monday. Okay, and that'll be between, 2 and 7, I think? Okay, and if you want to, you can call the Red Cross down in Danvers. Remember that correct, Dave? And
Yeah, or you
make
can
an
go
appointment.
online, too.
You can go online and you can make an appointment, get down there. and-
Actually, they got a pretty good, I went online yesterday to make my appointment, and there's only a few appointments left open.
Oh, really?
They must, sounds like they got a good response, but believe me, they're looking for all takers, so.
Yeah, it's very important. It's all different all times a year. It used to be just specific times a year for blood donations, but if you can, you have the time. You know, it's down the Raleigh Veterans Association between 2 and 7. So if you want to call or again go online through the Red Cross and make an appointment. Great way save somebody's life. Okay, the town has the following vacancy: Conservation Commission, 1 seat; Finance Committee, 1 seat; Fence Viewer, 2 positions; Wood Lumber Bark Inspector, and Zoning Board of Appeal Associate, 2 open seats. For more information on these positions, please contact the Selectmen's office at 948-2372. 375th. Joe?
The 375th is actively seeking donations from the public and businesses to help defray the cost of our concerts on the Common and other activities that we are planning for the 375th anniversary of the founding of the town.
Anything else, Joe? That's it. Thank you very much. Okay, battery recycling boxes located in the town hall and in the library. Okay, do you have any, expended batteries, flashlight batteries, or for your TV controllers? So throw them in a plastic bag and drop them off here at the town hall or at the, good night, Larry, or at the library.
Larry.
It's a great way of being green, just a small step. Raleigh Food Pantry is in need of donations. Raleigh Food Pantry is open Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and Thursdays from 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. Okay, town meeting will be held on Monday, May the 5th,
7 p.m.
at 7 p.m., 2014. So mark that on your calendars.
The 7:30.
7:30 p.m.
Oh, 7:30, I'm sorry, we have,
Well, if we tell them 7, I'll get there by 7:30.
That's a good point.
I didn't even.
and
put
if you're
the
sitting
time
there
on
for a
it.
half hour and you're wondering why you're here.
All the date. Never mind,
Good point, though.
Yeah, we try.
Be nice to get a quorum for 7:30 and then be able to go.
Anyways. Okay. Let me see, we're going into executive session for the purpose of litigation. Call for motion for executive session for purpose of discussing strategies in respect of litigation because an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the litigating position of the town and not to return to open session. And ask for a member of the board to make a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion, I have a second.
Second.
With a roll call vote.
Jack Cook. Hi, Joe Perry.
Robert Snow.
Hi, Robert Murray.
Hi, Dave Peterson.
Good night, everyone. We'll see you next week, and thank you for tuning in. Good night now.